Well, because I mean the performance, I mean the KTM, you know, is it an Aprilia Ducati in the moment? No, but the performance is there. Pedro is doing well, and Ea was in the top 10 yesterday, so it's not only KTM to blame. So I don't know what, as I said, I don't know what he was thinking, and maybe he was very emotional about it, you know, because there is a chance that he's not around anymore next year in MotoGP, and he just the emotions got ahead of himself.
We've seen a few technical issues for KTMs over recent weeks. Another one this morning with Pedro Acosta. How concerning is that to you? Have you still got full confidence in the motorcycles that have been provided to you?
Yeah, no, as you say, and it seems to be mainly being Pedro, you know, and I just saw what you saw before. I mean, I don't know what happened this time. It was completely something different. So let's hope they get a grip on it. It's always a concern when you see the same bike, because they are the same bikes stopping. So we had one issue with our ones, luckily, but Pedro had a lot more. So let's hope our bike stays together and we don't have any more issues.
Thanks, Gunther. Great to chat as always.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Always brilliant to hear the thoughts of Tech 3 KTM boss Gunther Steiner. As he mentioned, it was a cracking job by Bastianini yesterday to get himself in the Q2. Only the 7th time in 31 appearances at KTM, and Nea will feature in that second qualifying session. We know he's got great race pace, but he has qualified poorly on several occasions. And as we heard there, some choice comments in the media, both in Brno and here in Assen, from Maverick Vinales about his future, or lack of, at KTM. Well, as the Top Gun shot himself in the foot in terms of his aspirations to stay on the grid next year, because quite clearly there, Gunther Steiner not impressed with the way Vinales has decided to go about seeking employment with the team next year.
It's been a running theme through Maverick Vinales' career, hasn't it? Right the way back to when he was a young kid in 125 and Moto 3. He's always, it's what makes Maverick the character that he is, that he wears his heart on his sleeve. But I think perhaps may have chose his words slightly differently had he got a second opportunity to voice those opinions in the media. He's not exactly negotiating from a particularly strong position at the moment. It's Maverick Vinales. Not altogether his fault, of course. The injury that he's been grappling with for a year now still affecting Maverick Vinales, and it must be so frustrating as a rider when you're riding for your very future and you're doing that short of 100%. But Maverick, with his words off track and his performances on track, perhaps not making the greatest case at the moment for a place on the grid next year.
Shot. What a shot. Bezzecchi in full flow, as he has been since lap 1 here in Assen. Beautiful shot there, going through turn 12, just over 230 kilometres an hour. That, of course, was the corner where his teammate Martin bailed out yesterday. But he just looks so full of confidence. And he needs to stop this a little bit of a decline, this little bit of a blip in what's been a fantastic 2026 so far for Bez. The 3rd place in the sprint in Hungary was the last time he troubled the point scorers in this year's championship. And of course, his reversal in fortunes has been the opposite for Marc Marquez, who has clicked into overdrive with back-to-back wins in Brno and in Balaton. As we pick up Joan Mir. No Honda directly through to Q2 yesterday. We haven't said that too often in recent weeks in MotoGP. Mir was 12th quickest. He said it was obvious. The Aprilia super strong in that final sector where you need the high-speed turning, the mid-corner speed. The Honda, well, it was the polar opposite, wasn't it, in that 4th sector. Luca Marini was 16th fastest in Split 4 yesterday. Joan Mir, 17th fastest. And as Joan Mir said, well, he was losing 0.4 of a second right here in this last sector. In the 1st sector, Mir was 2nd quickest. So it's pretty clear where HRC have got to get their ducks in order, because Mir coming to this 1st sector now, well, only Bezzecchi was quicker than him, and but he was 17th and losing 0.4 in that final split.
Yeah, give Mir 0.4 of a second for free, and it would have put him up inside the top 6 yesterday. So for 3/4 of the lap, and certainly the 1st quarter of the lap, Mir certainly does have the pace. Will be in qualifying 1 and will certainly be a favourite in qualifying
This is impressive once again, isn't it? Gunter Steiner made a good point there. All these problems seem to be three. The KTM yesterday he felt was too unstable. He was getting too much shaking, particularly through turn 6 and 14. And if you've got a motorcycle in those parts of Assen that are shaking, it's a bit of a bumpy old ride.
Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi is having the smoothest of rides at the moment. And that's how smooth it looks with our 1,000 frame per second super slow-mo cameras. It certainly will be a much busier experience than that, as you have to manoeuvre your motorcycle right, left and right through the iconic Geert Timmer chicane. We of course hope that at the end of 13 laps of sprinting later on this afternoon and 26 laps of the Grand Prix tomorrow, that the Grand Prix and the ultimate maximum points will be decided in this very chicane, as so many battles have been over the years.
Bit of a novelty coming up in the sprint later on this afternoon, because for the first time in an awful long time there'll be no hole shot devices for the MotoGP riders to blast away from the grid. Of course, they are banned and coming into immediate effect from this Grand Prix of the Netherlands as we pick up Pecco, top end of the circuit. Saw that graphic a few moments ago. I'm sure you're more than aware that the moving and the shaking for 2027 has started. The long-time rumours about Pedro Acosta moving into the factory Ducati team confirmed here early this week. He's on board a factory Ducati in the new 850cc era for 2027 and 2028, alongside the Spanish dream team of Marc Marquez, and of course with no place in red for Pecco next year. Well, he's joining Marco Bezzecchi in what's going to be a pretty mouth-watering all-Italian factory Aprilia lineup in 2027. Another good lap that by Pecco Bagnaia. It's another 132.456. So he's been doing a lot of low 132s in this session. That's Bagnaia.
What sort of pace is Marc Marquez doing? Well, this is his first time lap having left the pits. He has also put in an extra soft rear tyre in, brand new soft rear on the factory Ducati, a used front tyre. The front tyre, certainly when the temperatures go up, will be critical around this Assen circuit. Marc Marquez does his best lap time in the morning, climbs one place, up from 10th, now up into 9th.
Fresh rubber front and rear for Bez. And as he so often does, he's making it count as we ride on board there with Pedro Acosta. Just pause briefly there to just hear him in full attack mode, going through 12, 13, 14 and now 15. Got a real sense there, didn't you, just how fast those change of direction were as he powered the KTM through that final sector. Yeah, this has been good by Acosta, really, really good. Of course, his early progress curtailed by the technical issue. But what did he say yesterday? Not ready to fight for the top 3? Well, he was in the top 3 yesterday. He's in the top 3 as well this morning. Are we going to believe any MotoGP rider what they say, given Marc Marquez playing down his chance of wins in Balaton and in Renault? Fresh tyres for Bez, and he is making it work. That's a 131.611. as he cements his authority at the top of this session.
Fastest lap of the weekend is a 31.123, also by Bez yesterday, who's on course at the moment to make it 3 out of 3. As Raul Fernandez potentially going to disrupt that as he comes across the line. He slots in once again, a 10th of a second behind him in second. The same top 2 as we had yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, he's done really well as well, because on his outlap he was pulling off the circuit at turn 9 with a technical issue on the Aprilia. Marc Marquez then, we know that he's got a fresh soft rear tyre in that Ducati, so he's now in the 31s himself, a 131.990. I think a podium this weekend for Marc would be a bonus. A top 6 I think he'll be delighted with. He's already thrown his hat into the ring for the championship this year. The 62-point swing between him and Bez in the last 2 Grand Prix to put a completely different complexion on this championship as we approach the halfway stage. There's only 53 points, coming the top 7 riders in the standings. I mean, Fabio Di Giannantonio and Ayagura 3rd and 5th respectively in the championship. Both of their team managers yesterday saying to Jack, well, you know, nobody's really talking about us, and we like it. We love it. We're happy to keep a low profile. We're happy to duck under the radar, but Did you and Agura? Well, there's no question about it. They are title contenders. They're in the hunt.
And Agura's now got him into the top 3 as well in this session. So it's an Aprilia 1, 2, 3. Aprilia Racing from the pair of Trackhouse RSGPs, Fernandez and Agura, as we have a crash there coming through De Bolt. That is for Jack Miller, who of course is in qualifying 1 very shortly. So that is a poorly timed crash for the Aussie.
Yeah, you can see that Miller was frustrated. It's a real stomp away in the gravel, isn't it, for the Australian. That is a common crash here in Assen, just washing the front there, trail braking into turn 9. Yeah, he was really angry. Looks up skywards there, doesn't he, Jack? Down in 20th place. It's tough going, heavy going at the moment for most of the Aprilias, but in particular for the likes of Jack Miller and Alex Rins, who, as it stands right now, have no place on the 2027 MotoGP grid. Both of them maybe contemplating options in World Superbikes, maybe. Jack Miller went down when he was 20th with the best of a 1:33.289. No great surprises. It's Quartararo once again. That's the leading Yamaha rider this morning. Fabio up in 12th place. Toprak Razgatlioglu, very much an Assen specialist in World Superbikes. Toprak is in 15th spot, a couple of places ahead of Rins.
Yeah, Jack Miller said he was losing everything in the final chicane yesterday. Toprak said that with some issues with the electronic settings, he was losing half a second in 2 to 3 corners. One wonders whether those are the same 2 to 3 corners that Miller is losing time in. So it will take something of a miracle that any of the quartet of Yamahas, or the quintet, of course, with Augusto Fernandez here too, are able to get themselves into Q2. Quartararo, of course, remember, on pole here a year ago.
Miller had set his personal best first 2 sectors on the lap that he did bail out of. And that just seems to be the story, doesn't it, on the Yamaha? There's not really a lot of margin to play with, not too much margin for error. We've seen it frequently so far throughout 2026. The second that Fabio Quartararo senses that he can really attack and push, he has big moments on the Yamaha. On that occasion, Miller was getting his head down. Personal best through sectors 1 and 2 as mentioned, but he was attacking at turn 9. The front end crying no more, and down went the Aussie. Gian Antonio, once again, permanent fixture, it feels like, inside that top 5, doesn't it, for the number 49. Interesting to see how Fabio Di Gianantonio sort of manages the absent whole shot devices for the remainder of the season. He has not exactly been an electric dynamic starter, has he, so far this season, as Fabio?
Yeah, the first lap went wrong for him in Brno 2, although that wasn't necessarily down to the launch. He made a mistake coming through turns 3 and 4 on the opening lap, which saw Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia both pass him, and of course went on to set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix on the last lap. So there was nothing wrong with his speed late in the race for Fabio Di Gianantonio, but as has so often been the case this season, when he has that extraordinary pace, it's way too late. Yet, despite the obvious points that he has let slip this season due to those poor starts, he is still mathematically in with a shout of leading Assen this weekend if things go his way as the MotoGP World Championship leader, just 23 back.
Bezzecchi Fernandez Martin was the historic first ever Aprilia all front row in their home Grand Prix Mugello just a few weeks ago. Are we on course for more of the same? It looks like we might well be, as Aprilia do lock out the top 3 at the end of this morning's session here in Assen. And the Aprilias, well, it looks like they're going to take some serious stopping. They're going to be clear favourites, aren't they, for the sprint. 13 laps, 3 p.m. local time this afternoon. We'll be racing for the latest 12 points. Can Marco Bezzecchi then end this long drought without a sprint victory? 4 times he's DNF'd so far this season in sprints. He's only won 4 sprints actually in his MotoGP career, Bez. His last coming at the Australian Grand Prix in Phillip Island, which is far too long ago for the 72.
Yeah, without question, they're the favourites to potentially lock out a front row. I'd go as far as to say I think they'll be disappointed if they don't, given how strong they've looked so far this weekend. Jorge Martin, the only Aprilia not in the top 4 this morning. He was 7th on a 1:32.120, and as you mentioned, it was a good recovery that for Ralph Fernandez. The way his session began, I guess the question that still hangs over Ralph Fernandez is, has that Aprilia that broke down been repaired or diagnosed to the point that he'll have that second bike available for him in Q2?
Agura, he is one name that is certainly in the mix for victory here this weekend. Can he be the first Japanese rider to had back-to-back podiums in MotoGP since Makoto Tamada went back-to-back in Estoril and Motegi all the way back in 2004. Giving himself a great chance at it, hasn't he, Agura? We'll watch him in the practice start. As only lowers the rear, no whole shot device though to be engaged. With the rear sitting down and with no whole shot, you can see now the nose of that Aprilia sort of sticking skywards. That was brilliant. That was lovely.
All, wasn't it?
That was superb, that by Agura. If he does that in the sprint this afternoon, if he qualifies well, he might be getting at the whole shot without the whole shot device.
It's another short run to the first corner here at the TT Circuit Assen. A very short main straight here of just over 400 metres or so out of that final chicane. So it's not a particularly long run to make the benefit of a good start or potentially lose out from having a bad start, but it is going to be absolutely fascinating to see what difference, if any, so who gets away well and who gets away poorly, the removal of the whole shot devices makes later.
Well, he's the top Ducati in the World Championship right now, Fabio Di Gianantonio, and he was the top Ducati in this morning's FP2 session. Nice little warm-up for Digia heading into qualifying. What he hopes is going to be another front row start. Wasn't the front row, of course, last time out in Brno. A couple of pole positions so far this season for the Italian. Nice clean getaway there by Jorge Martin, who once again is the slowest of our 4 Aprilias out on circuit. He was 9th at the end of practice yesterday. A couple of places higher up this morning in 7th. Just stretching out the arms there, Jorge Martin. 16 crashes already so far this season, which is far, far too many. Nobody knows that more than the 28-year-old Spaniard. You can't keep getting away with it. You can't keep putting your body on the floor. He was quite fortunate yesterday when he lost the front at 230 kilometres an hour, just to sort of rather harmlessly sliding his back through the initial tarmac runoff and then onto the grass runoff.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's not just the regularity that Martin's been crashing with. It's the crashes he's been having have been the majority have been quite spectacular and quick. There was the crash in the practice start session in Jerez earlier in the year. Of course, there were several crashes in Catalonia, but the one on the Monday really did bash him about. The crash at turn 7 in Barcelona. He's crashed after winning a sprint already this season when he dropped it on the back straight in Austin. But crash-free this morning for Jorge Martin. He ended the morning in 7th place. It was an Aprilia 1-2-3, though, with Bezzecchi, Fernandez and Agura your top 3. Di Gianantonio and Marc Marquez for Ducati in the 131s and in the top 5. Pedro Acosta, a session once again blighted by KTM unreliability, but he took 6th ahead of Martin Bagnaia, Alex Marquez and Morbidelli. Bastianini 11th from Quartararo, the top Yamaha. Marini, Moreira, Toprak, Vinales, Rins, Mir and Binder. That takes you down to 19th place. We'll be seeing Binder shortly in qualifying 1. Jack Miller crashed late in the session at De Bolt. May only have one bike for Q1 shortly. Augusto Fernandez and Carl Crutchlow completing your depleted grid of 22 now, of course, with Fermin Aldeguer's weekend ending after practice yesterday.
Well, it's the practice clean sweep, the practice full house for World Champs leader Marco Bezzecchi. Can he continue his Assen domination? Will he be on pole position for just the 3rd time in 2026? Join us next for Qualifying Live. Welcome back to the Netherlands. Welcome back to the iconic, the legendary TT Circuit Assen. It's the last weekend in June, which means only one thing. We are ready to race. We are ready for action at the Cathedral of Speed. MotoGP qualifying coming up next shortly, where Aprilia are going to be looking for their potential 2nd lockout of the front row of the grid for the 2nd time in the last 4 Grand Prix. They have just had a clean sweep of the top 3 in FP2. Bezzecchi, Fernandez and Agura. Marco Bezzecchi undefeated so far this weekend. Fastest in FP1, fastest in practice, fastest in this morning's FP2 session. He has had pole positions so far this season in Thailand and most recently, what a lap that was, most memorably in front of his home crowd at the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. The sun-drenched fans here in the Netherlands, well, they're enjoying this European heat wave as ambient temperatures by the time we're lights out for the Tissot Sprint this afternoon at 3 p.m. local time are likely to be in the mid-30s once again. Q1 then is coming up next. It will involve Frankie Morbidelli, who wherever he qualifies will have a 3-place grid penalty in tomorrow's Grand Prix of the Netherlands after his incident yesterday with Enea Bastianini. All Hondas in this session: Mir, Moreira, Marini, Toprak Razgatlioglu, Brad Binder, Maverick Vinales, Fabio Quartararo also involved in this action. Alex Rins, 2, Jack Miller had a tip-off at De Bolt at turn 9 in FP2 this morning. Just a quick reminder ahead of this qualifying session, if you are joining us for the first time this weekend, Fermin Aldeguer on the Gresini Ducati unfortunately has been ruled out of action for the remainder of the battle here at the TT Circuit Assen. He suffered a fracture in his back, a T7 fracture yesterday in a real scary crash in practice. Bezzecchi, Fernandez, Acosta, Agura, Bagnaia, Marc Marquez, Gian Antonio, Bastianini, Marti and Alex Marquez. They are your 10 that have already gone through directly into Q2 after yesterday's practice. But once again, it was hot conditions here in Assen yesterday and more hot water for Frankie Morbidelli.
Yeah, unfortunately, a bit of a running theme for Frankie Morbidelli in Friday practice sessions, when perhaps he switches off when he's not on a fast lap on his way back to the pits. Ultimately, in the wrong place on the racetrack, there's no good place to get in the way when you're on the racing line, but that was certainly one of the worst for Frankie Morbidelli. So even if he does get into qualifying too, he won't start on pole position, but I guess it's important when he has the 3-place grid penalty to try and mitigate that. Of course, that penalty will not apply.
Oh, did that picture tell the story of where Yamaha and Fabio Quartararo are right now? Pole position to being nowhere near pole position. Let's be brutally frank about it at the moment. Fabio Quartararo in Q1 for the 8th time in the opening 10 Grand Prix. He's only featured in 3 Q2 sessions so far this season. I mean, he can only dream of a 30.6, can't he, to get him anywhere near the front row of the grid. Joan Mir, super strong yesterday. Second quickest in the first split, losing a whole chunk of time, almost half a second in the final split. Mir was 12th yesterday, just over a 10th of a second outside of that all-important top 10. Had a cracking ride in Brno, didn't he, 6 days ago in the main Grand Prix. 5th at the checkered flag, managing that Michelin soft rear tyre all the way through. That was a heck of an effort by Joan Mir.
Yeah, Honda have got a thing that they've got a real shot of getting 2 riders through to qualifying 2. They came very close yesterday. Mir missed out by a 10th of a second. Moreira was a fraction behind Mir. Perhaps the problem that Moreira might have, last year's Moto 2 pole
Q1 then is coming
here at the Cathedral of Speed, is that he's not got the obvious candidates to follow in this Q1 session. The likes of Bezzecchi, Bagnaia that we've seen him follow through this weekend so far are all already through to qualifying 2. So Moreira is likely going to have to do this all on his own.
Yeah, and this is an experience he hasn't had since Catalonia. He was directly through to Q2 in all of the last 3 Grand Prix, wasn't he, Diogo Moreira? Cal Crutchlow then, the 40-year-old Brit, doing a stellar job of replacing the absent Johann Zarco, recovering, of course, from the serious leg injuries, the left leg injuries he suffered in that nasty first corner incident